um, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some information to start, and then I'll turn it over to you, and just let you ask any questions or um, talk about anything that you want to discuss. So I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So we're just going to go over this information really quickly. And then, like I said, I'm just going to open it up. But I want to talk about the 5 fundamentals of health and fitness. So the first one is nutrition. So the first week we started talking about nutrition. The second week we started talking about the importance of cardio or cardiorespiratory training. Third week we started talking about the importance of supplementation. And then this week we're talking about the importance of weights, or what we call resistance training or anaerobic training. So I just want to make sure you know how to access all of the information on the membership site. If you go to our website, pgfit.com, and you click on the login icon at the top, it'll redirect you to the membership site. Once you log in, you'll have access to the downloads, the 5 fundamentals, different, and then all of the videos that we're putting together, plus the other resources. So let me just see if I can put everybody on mute, just really see. All right, so I just put everybody on mute, and then I'll unmute you at the end. So we've actually set up the Venus Nutrition program for everyone. You can go to venusnutrition.com. You can log in. You can hit the login icon, and what that'll do is you'll put in your email address. So that's the email address that we have on file as your username, and then your password is going to be password 1, the number 1. And what you'll need to do is you'll actually need to go through and set up your Venus Nutrition program. Once you've done that, then you'll have access to the meal plan portion of the program. So we've given everybody access to this. I know we were in the process of sending out a message to everyone just so you knew how to log in. But this is one thing that we felt that was important to give everybody access to. I know some of you are probably not eating the best, being stuck in the house, so we would at least wanted to give you some options on how you can balance your meals. The second thing that we've gone over is how you can access the .fit program. So you can go to this bit.ly link. You can create an account if you haven't done that. Once you've created the account, you can go to pgfit.com, .fit.com, and then you can log into the program. There are customized meal plans that you have access to. There's a lot of useful information, but this is one of the programs we're using so that you can purchase your supplements. If you also wanted to purchase the Zen products, you could do that at pgfit.jeunessglobal.com. So what I wanted to talk about today was just the importance of resistance training, which we call it anaerobic training. So really, fat is burned inside your muscle. So that's why it's important to make sure that you're activating your muscle tissue. And then obviously, resistance training is going to help strengthen and tone your muscles. It'll help increase your lean muscle mass. By increasing your lean muscle mass, you're going to increase your metabolic rate, and you can spot gains. So if you want to actually see more definition in your arms or in your thighs, you can focus on working out those specific areas to see specific gains in those body parts. One thing that I would recommend is that you download the corrective exercise manual. So if you go to the membership site, you'll be able to access that. This really is the first part, and it really is the most important part of working out. We say the most important part of working out is everything from the warm up to the cool down. So, going through and doing the soft tissue work at the beginning is extremely important. So we've given you access to the foam rolling workbook. Then, of course, the corrective exercises are what we call the movement prep work. And then, of course, the static stretching at the end. So one of the things we're going to be doing this week is sending an email with your FMS screen. So FMS stands for Functional Movement System. So this is your screen, and it's going to give you a red, a yellow, or a green light. So red means that you really need to avoid that movement pattern temporarily. Yellow means that we just want to be cautious, and then green means that you're ready to train. Remember, there are 7 different movement patterns um, that we focus on. And so it's important to make sure that you know what your colors are for each movement pattern. And then what we're also going to do is send you a customized corrective exercise program based on your FMS screen. And we can talk about that a little bit more in a second if you'd like. One of the things that I've been working on the back end is the 28-day lockdown challenge. I know we're all locked down right now. So we're going to be introducing you to a new piece of software called Onboard Me, which is going to give you access to this program, hopefully by the end of the week. And then we're also going to be giving you access to this 30-day living room workout program. And this is an example of what the template looks like. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that later on this week as well. So just a couple things I wanted to go over, and then we can open it up. But remember, and today's workout is a good example of what we were talking about. But even though it doesn't matter if you're following like a P90X or Insanity or even a PG Fit workout, you are in control of your own workout. Each workout is designed um, to it is designed to take into consideration your muscle imbalances, your motor dysfunctions, or posture deviances. But remember, you're in control of your workout. So if you don't feel comfortable doing a particular movement, you need to know how to regress it. And if the exercise is too easy, you need to be able to know how to progress it. So remember, you're in control of the intensity of your workout. You should be monitoring your heart rate and making sure that you're keeping your heart rate in the right zone. And remember, if something is painful, that's not a good indication that it's a good workout. If there is pain, that's an indication that there's probably something going on. So we need to change the exercise, or we need to modify it. And then with that being said, what I want to do is just go ahead and open it up to any questions that you have. So I'm going to take everybody off of mute. And what questions do you have on resistance training specifically? Susie, do you have any questions?
No, not exactly.
No?
I have a question.
Yes.
So with resistance training, why do we do different types, like stability, strength, power? Is there reasoning for the order?
Can somebody answer that for us?
So your muscles don't get used to a specific type.
Okay.
Muscle confusion.
And we need the stability exercises to help us have a foundation for adding strength and power.
Yeah, remember, I mean, stabilization training really is the foundation. So you have to make sure that you're activating all of your stabilization muscles and strengthening connective tissue. You can power.
I tell my kids, if I want to feel like I've been hit by a truck, I'm going to experience stability workouts. I don't know why, but I feel so much more sore and a depth of soreness if I really push in the stabilities than power or the strength training.
Any other?
Yes, I have one. How do I know I'm using the right weight in resistance training? How do you know if you've got enough? I mean, are you going to muscle failure? You can't lift it anymore, or what? Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Does anybody know the answer to that?
Depends on our focus. If it's stability, you want to go light and high reps. But if it's strength, you want to go to that failure point. And power is in between. At least that's what I understand it to be.
Yeah, so that's a great response, Tammy. But Jerry, to answer your question, it really does depend on what phase of training you're working in. So if you're really working on trying to increase your lean muscle mass, weight's going to obviously be a little bit heavier, and then you're going to do lower reps. But that's where you would really need to go through some sort of a maximal strength test in order to determine exactly what it should be. With most of the workouts that we've designed, typically we're doing about 40, maybe 45 to 50 seconds of work. And the whole point of that is you should be doing anywhere between 10, maybe 15 reps. So we're working more on and strength, and that's going to help fatigue the muscles so that you still will start that process of hypertrophy where you're breaking down the muscle and you're able to start rebuilding it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Very good question. Does anybody else have a question? Selma, what about you?
I do have one question. They give during the workout, they give you, what you're going to do, then they give you the modification. What do you do if you're somewhere in between both of those?
So give me an example of that.
Like today's workout, I can't remember what we were supposed to do, but the modification was crunches.
Hmm.
I think it was burpees and crunches.
Okay.
So the crunches were too easy, but right now my knees are not so good. So the burpees were not good.
Okay. So how would you, let's just break you, instead of doing a burpee, because that's a pretty progressive exercise. Not many people probably should be doing burpees or can actually do a burpee the right way. So how would you modify the burpee?
How would you modify it? You could probably squat, jump.
Okay. Yeah. So you could start by doing like a modified burpee. And if that's still too challenging or if that's painful, then you can regress it and do just the second part of the burpee, which would be the squat jump, right?
Right.
And if that's still too painful or too challenging, then you could still do a squat just without the jump. So you can squat down, you can try to touch those elbows to your knees, and then you can do a quick and explosive movement up without the jump.
Right.
Sense?
Okay.
And then to answer your question, like with the crunch, if a floor crunch is too easy, bring your legs up off the ground. If that's too easy, try to do a crunch and a reverse crunch at the same time. Today we were trying to do both upper and lower extremities, so we were doing a tuck up and a pike up. So we were trying to
Right.
activate both the upper and the lower body at the same time,
Right.
working the top part of your abs and the lower part, so the rectus abdominis and the transverse abdominis. But if you can still do that crunch and reverse crunch, you're basically doing the same thing. So you're still activating both of those muscles.
Okay.
And if you couldn't do that, if how would you progress a crunch? What would be kind of the next step of progressing a floor crunch?
To a straight leg sit up.
You could do like a straight leg raises,
Right.
right? Because that's a little bit of a progression. And then you could go to like instead of doing pike ups like we did, you could do alternating pike ups, so just one leg at a time. And
Right.
and instead of trying to reach for your toes, you can just reach for your your shin or your knee.
Right.
So very good. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Great. Who else has a
Michael, I do have a question. How do you know, like, if you're sore? I understand as far as like lifting weights, obviously we're going to be sore because of the micro tears in our muscle. But how do you know when your body needs like more than one day off? Does that make sense?
That's a great question.
Like, so you're not overtraining.
Does anybody have an answer for that?
And I'm sure it varies person to person, right?
And that's what I was just about to say. It does. It is going to vary person to person because I know for myself, back when I was Daniel's age, I could stab myself with a knife in the chest. I could watch it heal right before my eyes. But now I can't do that. So I could work out, and then the next day I might be a little bit sore. But now it takes me at least a couple of days to recover, especially if I'm lifting heavy. So I think everybody's a little bit different. Even with these workouts that we've designed, stabilization workout, and then we'll do a strength workout. So there's still more total body workouts. So you're activating all of your muscles, so you're hopefully burning more calories, and they're more efficient workouts. But if you're doing like a hypertrophy or a split routine, sometimes you'll need anywhere from 24 hours upwards of 40 hours, even more than that, like 2 hours. That's why, for example, like with bodybuilders, when they do a split routine, they're typically not hitting that muscle group for a full week
Wow.
or upwards of a week. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
But I think a lot of it just depends on the individual and how quickly they're able to recover. And a lot of that comes down to, are you getting enough sleep? Are you eating sensibly? Are you taking the right supplements? So there are a lot of other factors that play a part as well.
Okay, thanks.
Are you still doing a hypertrophy program?
I am. I am.
And how's
But
that going for you?
I mean, it's hard. I don't know what to do. I mean, it's going well. It's just, you know, I think it's just more with me, like a level of how much is too much and not overtraining myself. So, because I usually lift in the mornings and then by the evening, I do like to do something because otherwise I get really stiff.
Mhm.
So it's kind of just finding the balance of, um, sometimes like I'll do the PG Fit workout after, within several hours, but just it just helps me not feel so stiff. So,
Okay.
but I don't want to get to the point of overtraining also. So,
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's definitely a fine balance, um, and I don't think a lot of people have to worry about overtraining, but I think you're definitely one of those. Uh, Sometimes you probably need to do more of a recovery workout than trying to do a more of a high intensity or a hit type of workout. Does anybody else have any questions?
Michael, I had a question about the V-ups and what do you call them, tuck-ups, the two ab work movements we did today.
Uh-huh.
So I was able to do both of the moves, but I could only get about 10 to 12 reps in that 40-second time frame. And I wasn't sure where a good mark was. So if I'm doing a full V-up and I can only do 6, do I still do the V-up or do I then switch to the regression so that I can get more reps in? Or if I'm doing the V-up and I'm doing 15, do I need to add weight? Like, where in our rep count do we need to then jump up or regress down?
That's a really good question. I think that the individual, but ideally, and especially like with this workout, you're trying to do 3 sets of basically this count. So if you accomplish that, it doesn't matter if it's 10 or but what can you accomplish within that 40 seconds? And can you accomplish that during and the third round? If you can't, then obviously you're going to have to regress it.
So as long as I'm consistent, if I do 12 reps the first round and I'm doing 12 the third round, then I'm at a good point.
Yes.
Okay, great.
We say 40 seconds, really what we're trying to do, and there's a lot of science behind it because in 40 seconds you should be able to do anywhere between 10 and 15 reps. So that's what we're trying to accomplish. And then back to kind of what Jerry was saying, you want that weight to be about 75% of your max. I know that's really hard to determine unless you're going through, some sort of a maximal strength test, a 1 rep max test. But, you can get a pretty good idea based on, can you complete 12 reps on that second and that third round, or that second and third set? So, very good question. What about you, Mary Jessie? Do you have any questions?
Nope.
No? Did we get
Nope.
on your Venice nutrition program?
I'm sorry. Say it again.
Did we get you set up on the nutrition program?
No, but I'll set it up when I get off.
Okay. So you can just go to venicenutrition.com, click on,
Okay.
and then you'll put in your email address as your username, and your password is the word password and then the number 1. So PASSWORD number 1.
Is it a capital P, Michael, or it doesn't matter?
No, it's just lowercase.
Okay.
How are you, Kathy? How are you, Cheryl? Does anybody else have any questions? What about you, Daniel? Do you have anything to add?
Oh,
Hello, everybody. I'm sorry.
hey, Kathy. For sure. I mean, so I guess one thing is that I know a lot of times people aren't sure why we do stability, right? A lot of times people's least favorite month is stability or power. Power because it's just hard and you have to work hard, right? But stability because they kind of are unsure why or things like that. And so that's why we actually always try and make stability as entertaining as possible, as much fun, and still be a good workout. So I actually can say in my own training that I was there as well for a really long time. I thought stability wasn't necessary. I thought it wasn't worth it. But it's amazing to see where once you start training stability, how much everything else improves. Like, for example, something as simple as a dumbbell bench press, right? You don't realize how much your shoulders have to stabilize, your back has to stabilize, even your core has to stabilize despite laying totally flat onto a bench. Even your hips need to stabilize your lower body, right? And so for me, the moment I started actually training stability, my strength went up, my hypertrophy went up, which in turn allowed, no matter what your goal is, my goal being add muscle, I'm able to move more weight, which means that I can then theoretically, as long as I'm training properly, then add more muscle. Whereas if your goal is to lose weight, then having proper form, being able to keep proper form and increasing your strength to then be able to do more progressed exercises, you're then able to move harder, faster, stronger while you're actually doing your workouts, which in turn again means more calories burned. And so that's just a little tidbit from me. I know, like I said, a lot of people just are always like to add a little bit. I don't really like stability month. I'm not looking forward to it. We always get to say, well, it's still coming. So yeah, that was kind of the only thing I had in mind exactly. But I did have another question for you, Michael. Is there a for Power Month? I had read that a lot of times it can be longer rest times, but we seem to do more so a higher number of rest times rather than longer rest times. Is there a reason for that, or what?
So I'm sorry, I don't quite understand the question.
So for Power Month, so for power exercises, I have read certain articles, certain things that say, not necessarily saying that they're true, but certain things that have said that for Power Month you should take longer rest periods. So 2, 3, 4 minutes, whereas instead we seem to do a higher number but of shorter amounts of rest time, right? So longer than normal. Like normally, like for a strength month, we may do no rest time to you know, we do 3 rounds back to back to back, and then we take a 30-second break. Whereas power, we seem to do exercise and then a like 10-second break, exercise, 10-second break. So I'm just curious the reasoning behind that type of rest in power month versus other months.
Yeah, so that's a question. A lot of it depends on exactly what type of power training we're doing. And technically speaking, if we were to do true power, we're going to be doing a maximal strength exercise and then setting that with a power exercise. And usually the interval is going to be longer. It's going to be upwards of 2 to 3 minutes. But a lot of times what we're doing is we're just taking a power exercise without the maximal strength exercise, giving you time to recover, and then just turning around and getting your heart rate back up. So you're getting the benefits of the aerobic training while you're doing the anaerobic work. So in a perfect world, we would be doing a maximal exercise. So we'd be doing a push-up, and then we would be supersetting that with like a ball toss, like a chest pass or a toss. And then if you were, if you're maxing out, if you're doing, 1 to 5 reps and then doing that power exercise right afterwards, of course you're going to need longer to rest in between, unless you focus on a different muscle group without any rest. But it would ideally you would give yourself at least 2 to 3 minutes before you go back address that same muscle group again. Does that make sense to everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. So, but when we do power training, we're doing a version of power training most of the time. And honestly, that's the top of the pyramid. So, stabilization is the foundation, then strength, and then power. But when we do power training, a lot of times we're doing a version of strength or stabilization training because quite honestly, that's what most people need. So even if we're doing like squat jump, for example, that's technically a power exercise. But if you're not ready to do a squat jump, remember we already talked about you can just regress it and do a squat, which would be a strength exercise, or you could just do, a squat with a quick and explosive movement, which is still, a version of a power exercise. To Daniel's point, though, and Irma and Jerry, I'm going to ask you this, but why do you think power training would be so important, especially like at your age? What's the whole point of power training?
Well, keep my flexibility up. I think you get flexibility from power training.
Okay, so flexibility definitely help improve your power, but why would it be important to make sure that you have quick reactive skills?
Get out of the way.
If you're enjoying a beautiful day like today and you're going for a nice leisurely walk, and then all of a sudden some buffoon is driving in their car and they swerve over close to you, well, you need those reactive skills to be able to get out of the way quickly. And
that's right.
Especially like with some of our older clients that have a hard time, just performing just daily functions. It's important because if you were to slip or fall, you need to be able to react quickly in order to prevent yourself from, falling and breaking a bone. So that's one of the reasons that power training is extremely important, especially the older you get. Now it's going to be a little bit different, obviously, than what Daniel would do per se. It's still a version of power training. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So what other questions do you have about resistance training?
So Michael, I assume this type of virtual workout will continue through May, which is now the strength month. And typically we're adding weight, but we're very limited with our equipment. So what can we look forward to for strength training, but doing at-home work with limited equipment?
So that's a good question. As of a couple weeks ago, we changed the whole training program, instead of focusing just on stabilization or strength, we're following what's called an undulating program design. What that means is we're doing stabilization, typically like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, with maybe active rest or power training. And then Tuesday, Thursday, there's a little bit more emphasis on performance. So that way you can do a workout every single day, but we're following all three training philosophies. Does that make sense?
Yes. So it seems like it's even more important to do 5 days a week or 4 or 6 or more than 1 or 2 days a week during this time.
Correct. And that's the whole point. I mean, I think everybody is not as active as they normally are. So hopefully we're getting out. We at least want you to try to follow this program every day if you can, because that's the way it's designed. And I mean, obviously to help you burn calories, but really at this point, we're really focusing on just your mental health and helping you relieve stress and just getting the best physical and mental shape you possibly can. Selma, did you have a question?
Oh, Scott just said, be careful with that old,
Be careful with what?
the old stuff.
Yeah, watch yourself, Michael.
Did you have a question? Cheryl, did you have a question?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Cheryl Kamen, did you have a question? You're on mute. What about you, Kathy? Do you have any questions?
No, I didn't. Thank you. Sorry for being late. I got off work late today. It's drama.
Thanks for joining. So I got a question for everyone. What's the best workout?
The one you're doing.
The best workout.
Yeah, if you think about it, you can go on the internet and you can find all kinds of workouts. What's the best one? I mean, we've talked about different types of programs, right? Stabilization, strength, power. But what's the best program?
I believe in combination. All of them work together. But if I had to choose one, I would probably say stabilization. But I think they all work to have an overall. As to, you have to do it all in order to have your whole entire work like it should or function like it should. That's my answer.
Okay.
I like total body, where you're not just focusing on one section or one grouping of muscles, but hit all areas.
Okay. And that's kind of the opposite of what you're doing right now, isn't it, Susie?
Yes, very much so. I hit legs like twice a week. Everything else is pretty much once a week, and some on Saturday, but Saturday is very low. It's like just body weight stuff.
Mm-hmm. What is the best workout?
Oh, I think it just depends on your goals. I think it depends what you want to accomplish.
There you go. That's the answer I was looking for. So it does depend on your goals, what you're looking to accomplish. So very good. My next question is, what's the most important part of a workout? We've already touched on this briefly.
Stretching and warm up, probably.
Yeah.
Warm up.
Warm up or cool down, one of those.
So, and this is, something I wanted to share personally, but, I try to work out every single day, and sometimes my workouts aren't very intense, but if I can just, and the older I get, the more I hurt when I first get up in the morning. If I can just go through and do more of a recovery workout, and I really like to go through and basically just do the correctives. So I'll go through and do the the lengthen exercises. I'll go through all 7 movement patterns, and I'll go through all the first 7, and then I'll go through the second 7, and then I'll go through the third 7. And sometimes that's my workout. Just depends on how I feel. And then other times that's the warm up. So I personally think that that's probably a really good place to start. You know, if I'm traveling and in a hotel room and I don't have access to a lot of equipment, I'll just go through and do, you know, the leg lowering, the T drill, you know, a version of a cat and dog, or the, you know, the dead bug, you know, the hand inchworms, you know, the pulsed hip flexor mobs, you know, some sort of a knee grab, or the quad walks, and then like a ground up squat, or a sumo squat. And sometimes that can be enough just to help me loosen up and lengthen my muscles, where you know, I can actually go through and do a workout, or that might be all I can do at that point. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
So I would encourage you to go onto the membership site and look at some of those perfectible workouts, because that'll give you some ideas of some things that you can do as well to make sure that you're incorporating all 7 movement patterns.
Yes, in a minute. In a minute.
Does anybody else have any
In a minute.
questions?
Child, stop.
Cheryl, did you have anything you wanted?
Oh, no, the only thing I want to say is, Michael, the pain doesn't get any less the older you get.
I figured that one out.
Yeah.
So, Jerry, do you have like a little routine when you first get out of bed in the morning?
I do some stretching and such when I get out of bed, and I do rolling. I do foam roll every day.
Okay, good.
So I got a stability ball that I really enjoy. I just lay back on it and kind of roll around on it. I enjoy that a lot.
Good. And that just kind of helps you loosen up?
Yes, yeah. Joint stiffness. My joints are sore.
Yeah. Cheryl came in. Did you have anything you wanted to say? We can't hear you. I don't think your audio is working. What about you, Mary Jessie?
Mm.
No?
Nothing. Nothing.
I was listening too.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah.
No?
I do have a question.
Oh no.
Michael, what is your, if you could only work out one muscle group for the rest of your life, what would it be? And if you could only do one exercise for the rest of your life, what would it be?
He's going to say swimming. Stop it.
He might, but I want to hear it.
That's an interesting question.
Hey,
One of the most important muscle groups in your body is. Yeah.
Your
Tammy.
core.
So if you had to pick one exercise, it would probably be related to the core. I was lucky enough to go to a workshop a couple years ago with Gray Cook, so he's the founder of Functional Movement System, but one of my mentors and probably one of the smartest people in the fitness industry. But he said that if he could pick 3 exercises, one of them would be a version of a plank. That's number 1. So that's extremely important. And then you're doing you're doing some sort of asymmetric work. So it would be like a workshop, And then he also said like battle ropes. So those were his top three. Oh, excuse me. Battle rope is the active rest, but a single leg RDL. He said that would be the next one. So a single leg RDL.
What was the second one you had said?
And like a plank, some sort of plank variation.
So plank, single leg RDL, and
Yeah. So like a plank, single leg RDL, and then a wood chop.
wood chop.
Yeah. So, and I would have to tend to agree because, we don't do a lot of pushing or pulling movements in everyday life. But everything we do involves our core, or it involves transitioning from one leg to the other. So that's movement are extremely important. So any other questions?
Michael, when are we going to see you in costume?
Yeah, Michael.
I don't want to see me in costume.
I've seen you in costume at Halloween. Come on.
Maybe we'll do a pit bull themed one. Then we might get him out there.
Yeah.
Oh God. He has a Richard Simmons costume.
That's what I've seen.
It's in the closet.
Maybe we'll do something on Saturday. We'll see. Any other questions?
Not for me.
Kathy? Any questions? Any final comments?
No, thank you.
No? Susie?
My final
No,
comment is I still can't believe how much Seth and Daniel can spot the least little thing wrong that we're doing and announce to the entire virtual class, hey, get your butt down. Hey, move your hands. Hey, let's push. Let's don't do that.
Michael trained me well.
Yep.
Or maybe Michael trained Seth well and Seth trained me well. Can't inflate Michael's ego too much since he's here. If Seth was here, I'd have to say it was Casey, and if all three of them were here, I would just say I taught myself. But thank you. I take that as a compliment. See, it's just a little bit of extra incentive to have perfect form, so no one has to know, right?
Yeah, it's funny. Our goal throughout the virtual class is not to get called out.
Tammy, or they have it ingrained in memory, all the things that we do wrong.
Well, this is kind of true. It does help that I've trained you on. I know what you're going to do wrong.
Because we all have those little things we need to work on.
So they're expecting it to happen, and then they're just waiting to call. Oh, I get it now.
It may help a little bit.
Well, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their evening for the online meetup. If there's anything to help you, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And like I said on Wednesday, we'll start sending you an email with your functional movement screen and with new corrective exercises that we're introducing you to. Hopefully by Thursday and Friday, you'll get access to the new lockdown program and the 30 room exercises. So thank you very much for joining, and please let us know if there's anything else we can do to help you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Go on. I think you have to hit leave meeting.